Hello and welcome! Today we're doing another Draw With Me tutorial. I'm using a program called Aseprite. I'll have the spelling put up on the screen. But if you'd like to follow along in the same program, that's what I'll be using. Otherwise, if you have another program that can do pixel perfect placement, or if you have grid paper, hey, let's get started. We are working on a canvas of 32 by 32 pixels. And we're going to be tackling two different fries today. I'm trying to keep the food themed in with the hamburger at the moment, but we will be moving on to other things too in the future. But for the time being, let's get started. Of course, you can use any color you want, but I'm going to be using some red, and I'm going to be drawing a bit of a weird looking triangle here. As always, I'm going to end up filling it with the bucket tool because it's just a little bit faster. Our triangle is also going to have a dip in the top. Just a quick reminder to make sure you do have references on standby. This makes this process so much easier. Now you're going to see that I'm going to carve out a little bit of a curve in the triangle. I just don't want it to look super duper stiff. Like, yes, this is going to be stuffed with some delicious fries, but it's still going to have a little bit of a bend to it. Now I start with the wrong color here. I should be starting with my silver or my white. I'm going to be turning this into a cone because we have to think about this in terms of 3D space. And sometimes it can be hard to think of things that way, and it's okay because it took me the longest time to start thinking that way. Now you're going to see that I'm going to outline the silver with red. That's just to kind of help me keep track of, where the quote-unquote hole is in this object. Now, you can see that I really didn't leave any room for fries to stick out of this thing, so I'm going to have to actually shrink it down a little bit, and I'm doing that by using the select tool and then just pulling it down. Then I'm just correcting the sides a little bit and making it a little more tube or cone shaped, because otherwise it was a little too wonky. Now you'll see that I'll start to outline the fry a bit, but then I realize that I probably need to color block it out instead. It'll just give me a better silhouette of what the fry shape is going to look like. And of course I should have said fries because there's going to be many of those. These don't have to be perfectly straight and everything, just try to vary their lengths, vary how straight and stiff they look, or if they're kind of flopping over a little bit. It just makes it look more interesting. I'm not worried too much about how clean my lines are right now because I can always come back and fix them later. Now we want to get ourselves another shade of yellow, a darker one. This is going to be these shadows. We want to add shadows where the fries are touching and everything so we can tell each individual fry apart. You can be a bit more picky about having cleaner lines here. That'll just make the process easier in the long run. It's okay if your shading doesn't come out perfect in the beginning. In fact, it may never be absolutely perfect. I've been drawing and coloring for years and I still question it all the time, so it's perfectly fine if it's not like absolutely the way it should be. However, if you can get it super accurate to your reference, good for you. Now I want our cone to be made of paper, and to imply that, I'm going to have it kind of bend down in some areas. Just kind of imagine a partially open burrito, or like a burrito flower, why not? Just think of these flaps as petals. I've sped this tedious bit up a little bit. Please pause if you need to catch up, okay? I'm going to finish adding a little bit of extra shadow here just to make sure it's got enough depth to it. Now I'm trying to imagine that my light is kind of at the top left of this. So I'm going to try to put my major highlights on the left, and then I'm going to put my major shadows on the right. Now we're going to get ourselves a lighter yellow, and we're going to add some highlights to these fries. If they're super fresh, they might be super shiny because of the grease, you never know. Unless they're baked fries, I suppose. This is realizing it way after I finished this, but I do think that I probably should have added more shadow on the furthest right fry versus the other ones, because it's just further away from the light, and the other fries are probably casting a good shadow over that area. I made a mistake there, but you know what? I'm gonna worry about keeping it in mind for next time I do something like this. Now we're gonna add some extra shadows on the bottom just to provide more depth, and then we're gonna add a darker color to it as well. Now some fries have little dark ends on them and everything, so I've decided to go ahead and add that to this one. You won't be seeing that on the other box that I make. Now I was thinking of some sort of quote-unquote branding here, so I was like, you know what, it looks pretty plain as it is. I don't think I want to put any letters on it or anything, so it's like, why not just put a white or silver stripe on it? I think it looks appealing, maybe even cute, you know, whatever works. Now I'm going to add some shadows under the flaps, and then I'm going to make the paper look a little bit more crinkled, like maybe somebody's been squeezing the bottom of it, you know. And that sums up our first serving of fries. So our second serving of fries will be in the classic fry box. I'm going to be using basically the same colors as the other one, and I'll be color picking from the other as I need to. I'm trying to get this box as symmetrical as I can without really using the symmetry tool here. And I'll be mapping out the hole that our fries are going to sit in here. I am trying to avoid using too much of the symmetry tool, but for this spot here, it was just faster. As they say, work smarter, not harder. Now I'm going to raise up some little, I guess you can call them horns here on the right. I'm doing that by cutting out a little bit of the middle, and then I'm going to extend it. This next bit is not necessary, I just like to do this so I can visualize what I'm doing, but I guess for some people it would be considered a waste of time. But I'm basically mapping out where the hole is, what the depth is going to be like, you know. But this will disappear, you know, behind a bunch of fries. I'm going to give my box some little feet to stand on. I'm also going to add some shading around the edges real fast to kind of imply a little bit of roundness to it. It is in fact a box, but it does bow out a little bit on the front. Honestly, I've eaten too many fries, I probably didn't even need a reference for that one. Whoops. Now I decide here to exaggerate the little horns a little bit more. And then I'm going to pull up a brighter red here and add a highlight to the front of the box, because again, it is sticking out a little bit, kind of in a rounded way. And then would you look at that, I was like, yeah, but my other fries kind of need this too. So, first I messed up and didn't turn my symmetry tool off. Genius. And then I fixed up my other set of fries. That looks a lot nicer. Right, so the fries on the other box are going to be similar to the other, but I'm going to actually quickly kind of get a general shape. It gives it a more organic feel, at least to me. I didn't want the height and spacing to be too perfect, you know. And here is the disappearance of the unnecessary step that I did. Now here I'm going to start adding shadows where my fries are touching. Some are going to be kind of straight, some of them are going to be kind of awkward looking. And once again, you know, the shading doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, just have fun with it. I am going to add some darker shadows towards the bottom of the fries. And you know, sometimes the shadows don't perfectly touch, like sometimes I'll have a little gap in between them. This is just because I like the look of it. After this, we're going to pick up our highlight color from the other fry box, and then we're going to start adding highlights onto these too. Just try to keep your highlights kind of on the top-ish of these fries. And then we're going to add some more shadows at the bottom because they are going inside the box and we want to add more depth to the image. Now this may not be absolutely accurate, but sometimes I just do things that look nice and it makes me happy. I'm also going to add some random dark bits up in the upper area just to kind of break up the colors a little bit. And with this box, I'm actually going to add some text to it. I don't want it to be any particular company name because we don't want to do any copyright or trademark infringement. But I figured, you know, something like the word yum would be good enough. Now I'm going to have to fix my placement here because it's skewed a little bit to the right, and I would prefer that it was centered if I could help it. I'll also be adding a little bit of shadow towards the bottom of the words as well. And that'll pretty much sum up the video. It's going to finish up in the background, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for stopping by and checking this out. If I manage to help even a handful of people just get started and have more confidence in themselves with pixel art, I'll be super happy. Now remember, fail fast, fail often, and you can only get better at this. You can do it. Thanks again, and I'll talk to y'all again soon.